On a lonely farm, children lived, played, and studied until they turned 12. Then they were adopted, or so they were told. One night, little Sam, only 5, was leaving. The farm sang, celebrated, and gave him a farewell dinner. An hour later, he left with the caretaker, a woman dressed in a long black robe. She smiled, but her eyes were cold. In the middle of the night, 2 kids, Jake and Leo, realized Sam forgot his favorite toy. They ran across the field to return it, but then they saw a truck. Its back doors were open, blood-stained cloth, broken toys, scratch marks, footsteps. They ducked under the truck. Monsters spoke in deep, raspy voices. One hissed, "Fresh meat. The buyers will be pleased." Another chuckled, "The young ones are always the sweetest." Jake and Leo's hearts pounded. They had to escape. But how? The caretaker stood near the monsters, silent as ever. Her gaze was empty, almost lifeless. The boys held their breath as the creatures loaded something into the truck. A small crate. Something inside whimpered. "Sam," Leo whispered. He clenched his fists. They couldn't let this happen. Carefully, they sneaked back to the house. They had to warn the others. "Wake up!" Jake shook Emma, the smartest of them all. "Sam's not going to a new home. The farm, it's a trap." Emma's eyes widened. "We need proof." That night, they followed the caretaker. She moved through a hidden door behind the kitchen, leading them underground. The walls were lined with chains. A strange, rotten smell filled the air. And then they saw them. More crates, just like the one they had seen earlier. Inside were children, some awake, some too weak to cry. Emma gasped, but Jake covered her mouth before she could scream. "We have to run," Leo whispered. "No," Emma said. "We have to save them." The 3 hurried back. They woke the others and gathered supplies. Rope, blankets, food, anything they could carry. As dawn approached, they made their move. The older kids distracted the caretaker, while Jake and Leo broke the locks on the crates. One by one, they freed the children. The monsters smelled them. They howled in rage. "Run!" Emma shouted. They dashed through the farm, feet pounding against the dirt. The gate was close, but the creatures were faster. A loud bang. The oldest boy, Daniel, held a shotgun from the caretaker's storage. "Keep going!" The kids ran through the gate, into the thick forest beyond. The monsters screeched but couldn't follow past the trees. The children ran until their legs burned, until the farm was nothing but a memory behind them. For the first time in their lives, they were free. Days later, they found a village, a real one. Kind people took them in. They told their story, and soon soldiers arrived at the farm. There was no sign of the monsters or the caretaker. The farm was empty. But deep in the woods, Jake sometimes heard whispers in the wind. The farm was waiting for new children to come. That was the end of one nightmare, but not the end of the story. Years passed. Jake, Leo, and Emma grew up, living in the village that had saved them. Yet the horrors of the farm never left their minds. Each of them bore scars. Emma had nightmares of the underground crates. Leo still clenched his fists in his sleep. And Jake could never forget the whispers. One night, a traveler arrived in the village, bringing news that made their blood run cold. "A new orphanage has opened," he said. "Not far from here. A quiet farm, hidden in the hills." Jake's breath hitched. "What's it called?" The man scratched his head. "Something about a safe haven for children." Emma stood abruptly. Leo's hands trembled. It was happening again. They couldn't let it.